Greetings and welcome. I hope that you are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today to talk about books. And today we're talking about my final book for November, which is the biography of Agatha Christie, An Elusive Woman by Lucy Worsley. And since we tend to think of Agatha Christie as a cozy mystery writer, we're going to get cozy to talk about this book. So I've got a nice cup of hot chocolate. So if you'd like to get something to enjoy while we're talking, go ahead. I'll be here when you get back. So I have liked Agatha Christie books ever since I read my first one in high school, and that was And Then There Were None. And I was so excited when this book came out, especially considering its author. So Lucy Worsley is a British historian. So since she's a historian, she goes about her process of writing a biography different than other biographers would. And you might have seen her on PBS. She does some historical specials for them. And she also did an Agatha Christie special, which was based on a lot of the research from this book. So I'm not going to discuss everything in the book. I'll let you read it if you want to find out everything, but I'm going to give some highlights. So Agatha Christie was born in 1890, and her first book was published in 1920. And while many of us have the impression that she's thoroughly British, she really isn't. Her father was an American. Her maternal grandfather was German. But these aren't the most surprising things that many of us have about her wrong. Her upper middle-class family was unusual, with a few eccentric members. Agatha didn't attend a formal school. Her siblings and her parents directed her education. And she was quite curious even when she was a child, teaching herself to read before her mom thought she should learn. In a life of many changes, one change that had a huge impact on her life was what was known then as the Great War, or we refer to as World War I. Agatha became a member of the VAD, the Voluntary Aid Detachment. Her town's hall became a hospital for injured military personnel, and she helped care for them. Eventually, she was moved to the dispensary, where she learned about the plants medicines are made from, and learned that in incorrect dosages, what we consider medicines can actually be poisons. Many of us have heard about her disappearance in 1926. Her car was found abandoned in a precarious place, and she was nowhere to be found. She was discovered 11 days later at a hotel, and the book adds insight into what likely happened at that time and uses materials that appear in her printed works to support that idea. Agatha Christie, An Elusive Woman, doesn't shy away from controversy either. We see all sides of Agatha Christie. So if you are interested in this author, her life, or insight into the life that went into her writing, I'd highly suggest this read. But beware, this biography does contain spoilers for some of her stories. Before we go on to similar reads, keep in mind that if you can't get your hands on a physical copy of this book, you can find an ebook and an e-audiobook on Hoopla. So if you're in the KRLS system, or if your library provides Hoopla, which many libraries do now, you can read or listen to the book there. And if you aren't sure if your library offers Hoopla, check their website or just ask next time you're there. Librarians generally like answering questions. So let's move on to other books that you can read for a similar experience. And what I'm going to do here is, I figure if you like this biography of Agatha Christie, you'll probably want to read her books. So we're going to take a look at some of the books that you might want to start with or read if you haven't read them yet. And if you've watched any of my mystery videos, you might know the first one I'm going to talk about. It keeps me engaged through the entire book, and it is quite surprising. So it is And Then There Were None. And if you happen to watch the old movie version that was made in 1945, you'll realize as you read this book that there are some differences between that version and the original book. And they're really both quite good. So something I had not realized, but probably should have, is that for some of her books, she took inspiration from real life. One of those is Murder on the Orient Express, and another one is Three Blind Mice, which you can also get on Hoopla if you can't find the physical book. And it's a short story that was adapted into the play The Mousetrap. And finally, in addition to writing mysteries, Agatha Christie wrote fiction that allowed her to explore the psychology of humans that so fascinated her. And she wrote these under the pseudonym of Mary Westmacott. And I have here a collection of some of Mary Westmacott's writings, and it's all in one volume, and in it is included Giant's Bread, Absent in the Spring, and Unfinished Portrait. And Giant's Bread is particularly interesting if you are interested in that period of time where Agatha Christie disappeared in 1926. Because Giant's Bread has a character who has a mental health crisis, gets amnesia, and goes through treatment to heal afterwards and help regain their memory. And it is hypothesized by the author of Agatha Christie and Elusive Woman that those would be some of the same treatments that Agatha Christie herself underwent. So I'm really interested in that book. I'm definitely going to read that one. And there we are. I hope you enjoyed chatting about books with me today, and I hope that you enjoyed hearing about Agatha Christie and Elusive Woman, the biography of Agatha Christie by Lucy Worsley, and other Agatha Christie books to read if you are interested in reading those. We will be back soon, and we'll start talking about what I will be reading in December. And we're going to switch it up again this month because it's the end of the year, so we'll do the end of the year book tag, and then we'll also talk about how I'm going to figure out my reading for December. So I hope that you will join me then, and until then, I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.